Policy. In this section, I will walk you through how you can create an expense policy, enter and submit expense reports using the policy, and the type of policy violations like warnings, errors, and justifications. A travel and expense policy may be created on an enterprise-wide basis, legal entity level, or operational unit level. You can create the policy by setting rules that employees must follow when they enter, submit, or approve expense reports. Let's look at a scenario where an organization has decided that no employee can spend more than $250 on a flight expense at the upcoming conference in New York City. If an employee enters an expense in which the flight rate exceeds the allowed amount, the system will notify the employee that the expense amount has been exceeded. User can configure the message that the employee will receive when you define the policy. You can define three types of policy violations. First, warnings. Allow the employee to submit an expense report or travel requisition. However, the expense will be marked for all approvers and for reporting later. Error. Requires the employee to revise the expense to comply with the policy before submitting the expense report or travel requisition. Justification. Requires the employee or a manager to enter a justification for exceeding the policy amount before submitting the expense report or travel requisition. Let's navigate to the Travel and Expense portal to see how we can create a policy against a category. You can hit Expense Report under the Policies, which falls under the Setup on the Travel and Expense module in AX 2012. Once you hit on Expense Reports, you can click on this app bar on the top and hit New Policy. You can name the policy and a description. From the policy organization, you have to select a company, and you can add it by hitting this Add button. You can select a category and then create a policy rule. I can see here that the effective date is 5/28/2014 and the expiration date is never. I can add a condition where I can say that the value should not exceed more than $250. I can select the currency by clicking here. I can create either a warning or a justification message over here. So I say that do not allow the users to submit or approve and display error messages if the amount is over $250. We can also write a text for the user by clicking on this button. This text appears as an info log when a user tries to submit an expense report that violates the $250 amount value that we have set over here in this line. I can click OK. And our policy, you can see here that the policy has come into effect. Now I can actually go back to my enterprise portal and create an expense report and show that when the policy is violated, it forbids the user to submit the expense report. So I click on New Expense Report. I hit Continue. I create a new expense line, and I select an expense category Flight. I hit on OK. I click on a transaction date, and I put in $250. When I try to save and close, I see here that the policy actually kicked in, and it prompted us with the message that we had provided in the setup.